Thank you for joining us on this second segment of this week's Film Fix. I'm joined by Maggie Boudreau, who, at least in this segment, you've seen some of the movies.
Yes, I have. I saw
Fair Game.
Fair Game. Nearly forgot the name of it now. It was. I don't know what it was.
Well, we'll talk about Fair Game in just a minute. And you saw The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. That's the third film in the Stieg Larsson series that started with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is going to be remade by David Fincher and Company out of Hollywood. Let's start by looking at the trailer for Fair Game.
The airport in 45 minutes.
Have a good trip.
I love you.
I promise I'll behave.
I promise to behave.
See, everyone's on their best behavior.
I want you to head up operations. This is top priority.
You're in business with a terror organization.
Who are you?
If you get out of this car, I can't protect you. You have no idea what we can and cannot do.
On a mission to find the facts.
The Vice President has received a report concerning the purchase of material to build nuclear weapons.
We need to get in close.
They turn to her husband for answers.
It is my opinion. A sale that size could not have happened.
I have teams in the field. They're all saying the same thing.
But when the truth was made public...
What do you think the White House wants to hear, huh? There was no nuclear program?
Need to change the story.
They made her pay the price.
Valerie, your name is in the paper. It says you're a CIA agent.
Son never worked for the CIA, but his wife...
As an agency operative...
You killed people. I can't tell you anything. I have a critical operation in Baghdad. My contacts packed and ready to go. I've got to get a message to them.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I gave my word.
No. It's over.
My name is everywhere. My real name.
Those in the highest office sought to destroy the career of a covert agent to punish me for telling the truth.
Your wife is a traitor.
How dare you talk about my wife? You don't know her.
We know where you live.
People threaten to kill my husband, hurt my children.
We've got to strike back. They'll bury us if we don't.
They push you until they find the point at which you break. You can't break me. I don't have a breaking point.
So that was the trailer for Fair Game, starring Sean Penn and Naomi Watts, playing Joe Wilson and his wife, who was a CIA agent, as we all know. We can actually say that aloud without violating state secrets. Valerie Plame, who during the Bush administration and the lead up to the war in Iraq was sort of the target of much of the ire of the administration because of Joe Wilson's position on the fact that certain statements by Bush and the administration were not accurate. I know you weren't in the country during all of this. You were out in England, and you probably didn't hear as much about this as what we here in America were besieged by the information on it. But as a thriller, because this is clearly targeted as a thriller, did it work for you as a dramatic thriller?
Yeah, it was entertaining. Entertained me for an hour and a half or however long it was. Yeah, it moved very quickly. I'm a bit skeptical about how realistic it exactly was, because obviously it's meant to be a true story. Her character was a bit like a 007, really, and I don't know if that was played up for the film. I would imagine it was, but any CIA agents out there, please tell me if it's not, and this is really what it's like to be a CIA agent. So
it is a bit glamorized, probably, although I'm not going to be one to second-guess the facts here, although I do believe that there is some liberty taken with them. This is somewhat like a Peter Morgan-esque adaptation of real-world events. Peter Morgan, of course, was the fellow who brought us The Queen and Last King of Scotland. I had a chance to talk with that writer years ago and asked him about taking liberties with real-world events and real people, and he had some very interesting things to say about that because basically it's fiction, but it's fictionalized history. One of the things that I think made me uncomfortable watching Fair Game was whether or not it was fair game to make a thriller in this way, made by the director of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and whose last film was The Dreadful Jumper, about these very serious political issues. Obviously, people went to one guy, he didn't go to jail, but he was convicted of a crime because of the cover-up. There's a lot of issues here that would make making a sort of a high-energy thriller, which this is, about those events somewhat questionable. But, you know, all in all, I thought it was effective.
Yeah, I think it was, like you say, it was entertaining, and people that don't know the story, the political story, will enjoy it without knowing what it was really what it was really about, really. So, yeah.
The next movie we're going to talk about is a movie that I've seen and you haven't. It's the new Woody Allen film. It's called You Will Meet a Tall, Dark Stranger. This is yet another film in Woody Allen's European phase. He has shunned New York City for various cities in Europe. This movie, starring Naomi Watts and Josh Brolin and Sir Anthony Hopkins, takes place in London, and Anthony Hopkins plays he's the best part of the movie. He plays a fella who has decided that he's going to leave his wife and he's going to go out and do all those things that he's never been able to do and find someone who excites him, and he ends up hooking up with a much younger woman, much younger woman, for all the wrong reasons. And for that reason alone, I can recommend You Will Meet a Tall, Dark Stranger. So it's a multi-character story set in London. Let's take a look at the trailer.
My husband walked out on me for one simple reason. I was too honest with him. I refused to allow him to delude himself.
Since his divorce, Alfie had his teeth whitened and his skin darkened.
You are entering a period of great fulfillment.
There's no such thing as predicting the future.
Will it be cash or check, darling?
Sally, who married Roy, a washed-up writer at 38.
That's it, I quit.
He tried to earn money, he just wasn't much of a chauffeur. All that cheered him up was the beautiful creature in red across the way.
Sorry, am I disturbing you?
No, not at all. You inspire me.
I've always wanted to be someone's muse.
I can't be in this marriage.
That man you work for, you know, the one you're always so high on.
Wow. Wow.
Don't rule him out.
Roy and I are getting a divorce.
You see how ironic and beautiful life is.
And just when you think things can't possibly get any worse,
I'm seeing a handsome stranger coming into your life.
His wife died and he's been trying so desperately to contact her.
I love you.
fate lets you know there's bigger trouble out there.
He left me for another woman.
No.
A deceased one.
Shakespeare said, life was full of sound and fury, and in the end signified nothing.
You will meet a tall, dark stranger.
Wow, that's exciting news.
What do you think of the trailer?
It looks like it'll be a very funny movie. Obviously, Woody Allen's behind it, so it's going to be class. So, yeah, I'm very keen to actually go and pay to watch it. So, it's not very often I say that. So, yeah, I think it looks very interesting and has potential.
Well, of course, it's set in London, and that's where you lived actually in England for many, many years, and you have a fondness for London. So I would think that that is one of the draws. You noticed things in the trailer that that reminded you of home?
Oh, yes, certainly. And also it has a great collection of English actors and actresses in it that I recognise from various English movies that people might not be familiar with. I think it looks like it's been very well cast, so I think people will like it. I think I will.
Well, Woody Allen is now, I suppose, in his 70s. He's probably 75 or so, and he's not letting up. He's making smaller movies. He never really made very big movies, but now he's experimenting with setting. The stories are essentially very much like the ones that we used to see, dating back to things like Manhattan, that's available on Netflix, and, of course, his Oscar-winning Annie Hall. He's a 3-time Oscar winner, obviously. I don't think we're going to see see Oscars out of You and Me to Tall, Dark Stranger, but this is certainly a commercially viable film. I think a lot of people are going to want to see it. It has an attractive cast. The story is entertaining. And, you know, like I said before, Anthony Hopkins is so very, very good in the movie. He's much thinner. Could you believe how thin Anthony Hopkins was in this?
Yeah, he did go for that fat stage.
Yeah.
And it'd be good to see him in a good movie because he has been letting himself down and seemed to be taking whatever Hollywood throws at him, whether or not it's a good content or to the movie or not. So I'm pleased he's actually putting his excellent acting skills to a good cause, really.